Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. I'm really excited this morning to be talking with Julie Keck from Seed and Spark. We're talking about these Polytechnic programs as part of Slam Dance, and what they are is really like workshops or classes, and you are in charge of 2 panels this week. I mean, really tomorrow and Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about tomorrow's first.
Great. So tomorrow I'm teaching my social media charm school class. It's part of what I do for Seed and Spark. It's based on a book that I wrote, and it's really just tips for filmmakers on how to use social media to gather their audiences and get the word out about their movies.
This is so relevant right now, right? And we have so many platforms. What kind of tips do you have for people, which platforms to be using?
Sure. Well, yeah, that's one of the first questions people ask me. I just say use 1 or 2 that you actually enjoy using, because there's no way that you can manage 1 million social media accounts for lots of different projects. And so you pick 1 or 2 that fit with your lifestyle, that you enjoy doing, and that way it doesn't feel like so much work.
For filmmakers specifically, is there one platform that you just like, you need to be on this one?
I personally think that Twitter is really important, which is difficult. Not everyone enjoys Twitter, but I think it's a great way to really break out of the people that you know. I mean, Facebook is usually people that that are in your family or people you've met throughout your life, and that's a great place to start. They want to know what you're doing too. But Twitter allows you to reach members of your audience that you might not otherwise cross paths with.
So, if you're talking about, you kind of brought up, finding audiences. What other kind of connections should you be making as a filmmaker on social media?
Sure. I think using Twitter is a great way actually to connect with your peers, other people who are doing what you're doing, or maybe people who have achieved a little bit more, somewhere you're aiming
for. Potential collaborators even?
Exactly, exactly. When I started using social media as a filmmaker, I really did it around festivals actually, to kind of ask people, is this a good one to apply to? What's the experience like there? And then actually on the ground, would use it to connect with people. And then also you're sort of projecting, again, to those people who are following you, that what you're doing is fun and cool and you're actually moving toward your goal.
What other tips are you going to be sharing during this panel?
Ooh, those are the main ones. One of the most important things I think is to keep in mind that it takes time to grow an authentic audience. Some people think that they need to have thousands and thousands of followers in order for it to be a useful tool. I actually think sort of doing a slow and steady growth is a good way to go. That way it's really the people who are interested in you and what you're doing.
I like that you use the word authentic too, because you want your connections to be genuine. You don't want it to be like, well, I just want to use you someday.
Exactly. Well, and you can tell in how people use their social media if they're really invested in it or not. If they're just sort of talking about themselves constantly, me, watch my movie, buy my movie, that's not very interesting. But if they're actually engaging with their audience, the audience is more likely to follow them throughout their career.
And another cool thing about this panel, this is tomorrow, by the way. It's called Social Media Charm School. That's the name of your book. We just showed a picture of it. Maybe we could show it again. And anybody who attends this panel gets a free copy of your book.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send them a link to a download of it, which is on the website of Seed and Spark, which is where I work.
Nice. Okay, and the second panel, Wednesday, January 24th.
Yes.
This one is about pitching. Yes. Which is huge.
Yeah, and it's so hard. I mean, those of us who write movies or make movies, they're in our heads for years. We might work with a small team, but it's really important to learn how to tell that story to the right people when you meet them. And that can be investors, collaborators, actors you want to work with, and audience members. So it's a very interactive workshop. I talk for a little bit and share tips, and then the participants actually practice with each other, which is terrifying at first, but ultimately really fun.
Do you have to have a pitch ready to get into the course?
No, absolutely not. All people have to have is an idea that they want to work on. And it's a really safe environment. Everyone at first is, sort of fumbling around, and then by the end of it, they have a nice 2 to 3 minute pitch that maybe they can use here.
Would you suggest that your pitch stay around 2 to 3 minutes?
I think it's good to be able to tell someone just really quickly what your film is about. Of course, our ideas are much bigger than 2 or 3 minutes, but usually you only have a couple minutes with someone to explain what you're doing. And if you can't do it really tightly, they're going to lose interest. So work on that. And then once you hook them, then you can tell them the more expansive story.
We challenge them on the show all the time, because we have a bunch of directors, writers, producers on the show, and we say, okay, you have 2 minutes, tell me about your film. Right. So this is just practice for them, right? For their pitches.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very valuable.
So where can people go to find more information, how to get involved in these panels?
I'm sure on the Slam Dance website, you go to the Polytechnic segment. And then we'll also be posting about it on Seed and Spark social media, so, and a lot of other fun stuff too.
What I have to say, I mean, filmmaker or not, I feel like these are so relevant right now, especially the social media one, and for filmmakers specifically, getting the pitch down and really pitching, you can use it as a journalist in much more areas than just filmmaking. So I just think these are really cool programs, and I appreciate you teaching them.
Great, thank you.
All right, Julie Keck, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a lot more coming up on the show as we get into our films coming up.